Welcome to round 19 of the FDC. On board with Wondorian during qualifying, and his car had one of those unfortunate no-grip spins where counter-steering has no effect on the car at all. So turn 1 was a challenge not just in putting the power down, but it's also impossible to see the apex as you ride uphill towards it. He had a better lap, which placed him on the front row of the grid, less than a tenth behind our pole sitter Meister, and it wasn't an easy session for Meister either, as he wasn't aware that there was a race on, so he'd done no practice. And he had a sound bug during qualifying, so he needed to be re-invited. But despite a problematic start, both drivers of course locked out the front row. The Almighty was close behind in third, and another top 4 for TJD. If ever there was a race that demanded the use of the racing line assist, I think this would be it, with plenty of blind corners where you can't see the apex as you have to start turning towards it, so the racing line can help you a lot. I'd started using the racing line as I wasn't too familiar with the recent tracks even after practice, and after this round I ended up keeping it on to use ABS with it. Our previous highlights video was blocked by FOM, which was due to an automatic copyright claim. As far as I know, the audio was fine, but the video was mistakenly detected in what YouTube calls a content ID claim. Specifically, it was Wondorian's qualifying lap, which synchronised almost perfectly with the real pole lap on the F1 channel. I'd happily show a comparison, but obviously that would trigger a genuine content ID claim. With some practice I managed to qualify 5th. Usually I'm further back than that, so it looked like a good qualifying session for me on an unfamiliar track, but there weren't many entries on that session. HD Gamer and Fragvicer didn't set times. Everyone started on the soft tyre with the exception of HD Gamer starting on mediums. It looked like the front 3 were going to be in a close battle. They had each won 2 or more races. Fragvicer had taken the fastest lap on round 16 and was now starting at the back, so it would be interesting to see if he could use that speed to make his way through the pack. But he'd only have 14 laps to do it. To the race start, and Jason got stranded on the grid. Meister got away in the lead. We had a clean first corner. Jason quickly had an automatic disqualification as his car was stuck. Myself and Darrow went offline, struggling in the dirty air. It's a pretty difficult group of corners. Beaumont had a cheeky look at Darrow's corner. The drivers more or less settled into their race.
Aye.
My car ran deep at turn 11. I suspect it was because I cycled down the gears too quickly, but I find that manual gear changes can be a slight advantage. What I found interesting was turn 13, where the cars brake differently. I braked mostly in a straight line to avoid risking locking up, which might wear the tyres down. But behind me it looked like Darrow wanted to use ABS to brake into the corner. So ABS had a clear advantage there because with it there's no risk of locking up, and it was after this race I ended up taking advantage of the ABS assist. Fragvicer went for a move on Darrow at the start of lap 2. Fragvicer of course not setting a time in qualifying, so he started from the back but clearly had some speed. On lap 4 the top 3 cars were still stuck together. The Almighty lost DRS range against Mido, and Wondorian was looking ready to fight before the pit stops had been done. At the end of lap 4 Mido's car was sideways. The Almighty was now in the lead, but Wondorian was still looking for a chance to get through. So the top 2 in the championship were battling for the lead straight into lap 5. But it was the Almighty staying ahead. Further back I'd accidentally cut the corner while looking for the cause of the yellow flag. When I saw Mido's car I thought he'd had a terminal crash. Fragvicer went for a dive into turn 1 and made it through cleanly. TJD dived into the pits at the end of lap 5, but you have to be careful with the pit entrance, as it's very easy to crash into the pit barrier, or get a corner cutting or speeding penalty at the entrance, or overshoot the entrance entirely. When the Almighty and Wondorian pitted on lap 6, neither of them entered it safely. I think it's rare to have an incident like that, so having a rule about entering the pits might be more trouble than it's worth. Unfortunately for Wondorian, that incident would have cost him about 5 seconds I would have thought. He exited the pits behind HD Gamer. At this point HD Gamer would have been on 1 medium tyres, having yet to do his own pit stop. so it made sense that he didn't fight too hard and avoided the slipstream. I would have done the same at that point. Ahead, the Almighty got past Darrow. Darrow would end up pitting on that lap, and interestingly the racing line does show a fast angle to the pit entrance. I pitted a couple of laps earlier, and it seems I was one of the only drivers to take what I would have called the safe line into the pits. HD Gamer pitted on lap 8 with a fast angle. On lap 13 I was surprised to see that Meistermeido's car was still alive. Not only did it survive, but he'd recovered and was looking to get past me with less than 2 laps to go. TJD ran wide, and gave me a scare on his return to track, but thankfully I don't think any harm was done. At turn 11 I got a friendly bump from behind. I don't know if this was because one car was using ABS and the other wasn't, but fortunately for me I basically drifted into the right direction. I believe TJD did the right thing here, not using the incident to overtake. Meistermeido looked to hand the position back to me. I'm guessing that was based on the incident between me and TJD, Mido being a gentleman driver. The Almighty crossed the line in first. Wondorian not far behind, taking 18 well-deserved points, nearly securing him the championship. Fragweiser took his second podium in third. I crossed the line just ahead of Mido. Darrow crossed 7th behind TJD.
Nice.
HD Gamer 8th, Beaumont 9th, Desomri 10th, and Jason a retirement in 11th. Meistermeido managed to sneak the fastest lap without having practiced, with Wondorian and the Almighty setting almost the same time just behind him. There was a penalty for Fragweiser for diving in. The problem was that it was against the rules, so it was unfair to other drivers that obeyed the rule by not diving in, and it was unfair to other drivers that wouldn't have even gone defensive against the car that far back. But as he proved that dives could be done cleanly, attempts were allowed in future, but the diver would still be accountable if they caused damage. Either way, the penalty didn't change the order. So now we look to Brazil, our second to last round, where only the top 2 drivers were still in contention for the championship, and it was very much in Wondorian's favour, but the Almighty was looking fast, having won 3 of the last 4 races, so we'll see you then.